everyone, it's James from Keeping It Anime, and today we'll be talking episode 94 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. So overall, what do I think of this episode? This episode was a pretty good, solid episode, with a few small, tiny problems for me, but I'll get to them in a minute. So basically, the episode starts off with an intriguing, interesting opening act. And this act is in the form of Lightning displaying just how much more unhinged and brutal he actually is. Like, you can actually see his character slowly but surely turning into like lightning. Windy, sorry. And even Revolver states how arrogant Lightning is being in this episode. And that is one thing I think that will actually be his downfall. Because when we saw Windy lose, we actually saw Lightning basically stating that Windy's anger was the reason for his loss. It clouded his judgment. And well, Lightning being angry and arrogant as he already is, I think that's going to affect him in his duel, whoever he faces. Whether he faces Bohman, or whether he faces Revolver. I'm not saying Soulburner because I certainly 100% do not believe that Soulburner is going to make it out of the next couple of episodes. Right, so what else does this scene give us? This scene gives us another bit of insight into Bowman's character. We saw last week that in the last couple of weeks, we saw him basically tell Playmaker about this situation. He showed Blue Maiden compassion, so he's starting to show these type of emotions, and this is no exception. In this episode, and in this scene in particular, he states to Lightning, stopping him from doing what he does to Playmaker, which is essentially picking him up and then throwing him to the ground, by telling him there's no point in picking on the weak and the wounded, because that'll only give them an excuse later. Instead, beat them when they're at their best. And I don't know if it's kind of like the Yusaku inside of Bowman that's talking, because as we know, Bowman is based off of Playmaker. So that could be a factor, or it could just be the fact that Bowman is actually developing some type of, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Competitive spirit. Or, you know, it is actually emotion he is showing. Right, so moving on from that scene, we then cut to basically Soulburner raging and rampaging, and he basically runs with flames on him. Like, this scene is super dramatic, and it's a bit over the top. Like, let's be honest, I know it's a game and they're in like virtual reality, but it was just weird seeing Soulburner like go full on like flame mode, running down a airport track, taking off with flames on his back. It was weird. It was weird, okay? And basically this leads to him fighting Bowman. Now, the voice acting from Soulburner in particular was fantastic this episode. I could not fault it at all. You could feel and basically sense the rage inside of the character thanks to the voice. And that was really good. So props to that. Now, this duel didn't really kick off very much in this episode. It was basically one turn for Bowman and one good turn for Soulburner. Basically, Bowman gets out his Twin Knight High Drive monster with the fire and water attribute, and basically gets Judgment Arrows and Protect High Drive out, which protects a High Drive monster and Judgment Arrows at the same time, which is pretty sort of broken if you ask me. However, Soulburner pulls it around and gets around basically all of these cards. He gets rid of the High Drive Protection card with Hitalayo's ability, and thanks to Reincarnation Summon, he gets rid of Judgment Arrows using Hitalayo's ability again, and then he drops the Twin Knights High Drive monster down to 200 attack points, nope, 0, down to 0, and then attacks it, destroying the monster, dealing Bowman damage. Bowman even commends Soulburner on his dueling ability in this episode. So throughout all of this, we have an enraged Soulburner that's making pretty decent plays. I don't know really, because I only watch the series, I don't actually play the game. Like, I might play a bit of Duel Links, but that's about as far as I'm going to get with the competitiveness. I'm more of a Vanguard player. But moving on, we actually see Bohman kind of antagonizing and getting under Soulburner's skin. And at the beginning of this duel, another thing did strike me as a little bit odd. Basically, we have Soulburner ranting and raving that they did what they did to Playmaker, and Playmaker is his hero. Okay, fair enough, he's angry. And he admires Playmaker. So technically deep down he admires Bohman, because Bohman again is based off of Playmaker. So having that admiration being given from Bohman to Soulburner should be a good thing. But instead, Soulburner is taking it as a bad thing. Like, granted, he might not know that Bohman is based off of Playmaker like we do as the audience, but that might be a little plot thread to be said later on in said episodes. But then the episode basically ends with Bohman summoning a monster, which is something High Drive Atlantis, which is a very big monster, and was stated to be the monster that attacked the Cyberse world. This basically comes from Flame himself. And just as Flame says this, we see him glitching out. If you've seen the thumbnail to this video, you'll know what I mean. He starts glitching out, and I'm thinking, hold on a minute, what's that to do with? Why is he glitching? Straight afterwards, we also then see Bohman stating that the attribute to his new monster is decided on a roll of a dice, or a die, whichever phrase you want to use. And basically they're shocked because he's going to leave it up to luck. But him being YUGIOH Vrains himself basically says that, you know, luck is not an object for him. He creates his own luck. And when you're in a computer world and you're an AI, that pretty much go hands in hand, yes, you can basically choose your own. And he does this by powering up Dragon Ball Z style, creating a massive swirling ball kind of thing, and basically does a judgment dice roll or something. I don't know, Duke Devlin would have loved this scene. You know, if he was real and watching it. You know, Dungeon Dice Monsters. Remember that way back in Yu-Gi-Oh? And it was a nice scene, and we actually see people glitching in normal YUGIOH Vrains again, which was very good. However, we do again see Flame glitching. Now, last time Bohman did something like this, Aqua did not glitch at all. So could this be something to do with Windy? I don't know. I haven't seen any spoilers for anything. I don't really like spoilers very much, so I tend to keep away from them. But we do have that mystery of Windy basically saying that he would curse Flame. Now, that could have been a bit of nothing that was just thrown in there for a bit of suspense later on, or they could actually be doing something about that. And if they are, well then, now would be the perfect time to do that. So basically that's how the episode ends. It has a very nice sort of still image of Bohman's face. Okay, whatever, fine. And the episode ends. Another good thing to note about this episode is the Knights of Hanoi are doing something. Like, we see them having Kusanagi's sort of data that he was working on, and they finally get into mirror YUGIOH Vrains and contact Revolver by taking down the barrier. Hence to why this duel is happening between Revolver and Bohman. Sorry, Soulburner and Bohman. But then another strange, intriguing thing that happens at the beginning is Revolver sends Lightning a message, and Lightning just dips out. He basically just leaves. So that was a little bit kind of inconspicuous. So hopefully we'll elaborate on that further. The next episode preview is basically just this duel. We see quite a lot of shocked faces. I think we see a new monster from Bohman in the preview, and we see a supposed new monster about to be summoned by Soulburner. Now, we already seen him do Exceed Summoning, Link Summoning. I don't think he's done Ritual and Synchro yet, so it might be a Synchro or a Ritual summon. We don't know. All we see is like a pink square forming, a circle, a pink circle with text forming. That could be a Ritual circle, we do not know. So that's something to look forward to. However, another thing that kind of did annoy me a little bit is we see Playmaker up and running in the preview. So this guy who's meant to be unconscious and down and out, she's up and running one episode later. Now to me that's very quick for that to be happening, but here's a brainwave. So, back in season 1, we have when Thaus, Gnome and Vyra were villains, you know, the Knights of Hanoi, we had that whole sort of, was it like ghosting type of storyline where Aoi had to fight Vyra to get a cure, to waken up people that were unconscious or in a coma. And we know that Vyra is a doctor, so maybe she sends a piece of data to I that helps get Playmaker back up and running. So if they do that, I can forgive them for waking him up early. But other than that, if he just basically wakes up and goes, "What's been happening? I don't know where I am," and then it'll be kind of weird and too quick for my liking. So, like I said, all in all, this episode was very good. The things I didn't like was the animation. Like, we had some really good solid bits of animation, but then apart from those, we had terrible animation. And I know Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a kids show, so it's not meant to be brilliant and high budget in terms of animation, but it does drop the episode down as a whole when you have poor animation quality. You know, that's just something that really did annoy me a little bit. And again, I'm not a huge fan of Bohman, so seeing another Bohman duel isn't really for me. But I am enjoying this episode, and I honestly don't see Soulburner winning because it doesn't work narratively. He might pull out a new ace monster, but then Bohman will probably do something that would make him win or something. I don't know, but I just don't see Soulburner winning. Bohman just has to win to make the story progress and to make the whole Windy situation actually effective if that ends up happening. So that's going to end it for this review. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. Until next time guys, keep it anime.